Hi, welcome to my video on transformations on the unit circle, part 1. Transformations on the unit circle will be done by what I call RST. And R, S, T in that order, like in the alphabet. And R stands for reflection. S stands for stress, and T stands for translation. And anytime there is a translation, is always done in reflection first, then a stretch, and then a translation, as in the ordered pairs, as in the parabola, as in any transformation on any function. But we're talking about the unit circle. So the unit circle. Okay, let's put the unit first. The unit circle, and the unit circle has the equation of x squared plus y squared equals 1, where the center is 0, 0, and the radius is equal to 1. So if we do a reflection, and a reflection is, what I'm going to do now is a reflection in the y-axis on the unit circle. And the reflection is done by, when we do a reflection in the y-axis, that makes it x to a negative x comma y. So you're changing x to a negative x. That means that you have the equation, which is x squared plus y squared equals 1, and you change the x to a negative x, which I'm doing, but negative x squared is the same as x squared. So notice, when you reflect in the y-axis, changing the x to a negative x, you don't see any change in the graph. And to illustrate that, I'm going to show you this grid that I made up. I have a grid here, and you can see a grid. And I have a circle which has a radius of 5. So I'm going to reflect in the y-axis. So the y-axis is down here, through here. So I'm going to flip the paper, and you can see the paper flipping over. Pretend it's flipping in the y-axis, and there it is. So when I reflect in the y-axis, you can see that there's no change in the coordinates of the points. Okay, and what about if there's a reflection in the x-axis? And reflection in the x-axis is changing the y to a negative y. When you reflect in the x-axis, the y, so if you got a positive 1, it becomes negative 1. If you got a negative 2, it becomes positive 2. So if you have an equation on the unit circle, which is x squared plus y squared equals 1, then the y is changed to negative y. So negative y being squared, and we have negative y being squared is y squared. So again, there's no change. And to illustrate that, I have a grid made, same grid, again, there it is, but I'm going to reflect it in the x. But as we know, the x-axis is along here. So that means I'm going to reflect it, if I could keep the piece of paper like this, so I'm going to reflect it. Pretend the line is right here, so here I go, I'm reflecting it over. There's the line right there. And notice, when you reflect it, there's no change in the coordinates either. So when you take a unit circle and reflect it in the x-axis or in the y-axis, there's no change in the ordered pairs. They don't change. Okay, that's on the reflection. Now let's look at when we do a stretch. S is stretch. A stretch on the unit circle is the radius. A unit circle has a center of 0, 0 with a radius of 1. So a unit circle has a center 0, 0 with a radius of 1. So 1 right, 1 left, 1 up, 1 down. So there's the circle, the unit circle right there. And the unit circle, the equation of a circle with center 0, 0 is x plus y, and the radius is 1 squared, which is x squared plus y squared equals 1. And the mapping rule that illustrates this is x, y, where the x value is multiplied by the radius, and the y value is multiplied by the radius in each of these ordered pairs here. And to illustrate that, let's take a circle which has a radius of 2 and the center is 0, 0. So if the center is 0, 0 and the radius is 2, so r squared is 2, so that means we have a 4. So if we take this circle, which is x squared plus y squared equals 4, what happens? We have a radius of 2, so we get 2 times the x value and 2 times the y value. So if I take a unit circle, which is this one, and put all these ordered pairs, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, in this table of values, what happens? We will get the unit circle. This point right here, x is 1, y is 0. This point here, x is 0, y is 1. X is, right here, x is negative 1, y is 0. And this point here, x is 0, and y is negative 1. So, the circle, which has x squared plus y squared equals 4, notice, has, if the x value, if you let y equal 0, x squared equals 4, so x equals plus or minus 2. When y is 0, x is plus 2 minus 2. And if you let x equals 0, y squared equals 4, so y is equal to plus or minus 2. So we get this circle here. But notice the radius is double. So that means we have a 2x comma 2y. So if you take these x values which are on the unit circle, these ordered pairs here, and double the x's, you get 2, 0, negative 2, 0. If you double the y's, you get a 0, 2, 0, negative 2, which is this circle here. So notice when you do a stretch, you're putting the radius in front of the x and in front of the y as a stretch vector. And the stretch is horizontal and vertical. In a circle, the horizontal stretch and the vertical stretch are equal. The radiuses are equal on a circle, but the horizontal stretch and the vertical stretch, horizontal stretch HS, vertical stretch VS, when you stretch on a circle, then you have HS stretch times X, VS is the vertical stretch times Y, so that translates into RX, RY, because the horizontal stretch and the vertical stretch on a circle are the same. So what I'm saying, X comma Y when you stretch is radius times X comma radius times Y. And you'll see that in more videos. And let's do some work on that. Complete the chart. We have a circle equation, and in this circle equation, x squared plus y squared is 9. The radius is r squared is 9, so the radius is 3. So the horizontal stretch is 3. The vertical stretch is 3 because they're equal. So that means that if you do the mapping rule, you have the radius 3x and the radius 3y because the horizontal stretch and the vertical stretch are the same. Same here. X squared plus y squared is 49. The radius is the square root of 49, which is 7. The horizontal stretch is 7. The vertical stretch is 7. So the equation in the mapping rule is 7x, 7y, because they're the same. Horizontal stretch, vertical stretch are the same in a circle. And right here, again, we have x squared, y squared is a unit circle, and we have the radius is the square root of 10. So the horizontal stretch is the square root of 10. The vertical stretch is the square root of 10. So in the mapping rule, we would have root 10 times x, comma, root 10 times y. So now I did a little bit different. This time I said the horizontal stretch is 6. Again, we have a circle equation, a unit circle. So the vertical stretch is 6. That means the radius is 6. That means this is 6x, comma, 6y. And the equation, again, is a unit circle. So the radius is 6, so 6 squared is 36. And the same here, we have the mapping rule ordered pair. That's an 8x, 8y, so that means the vertical stretch is 8. The horizontal stretch is 8. The radius is 8. So the equation is x squared plus y squared, and that's radius r squared is 64. And let's continue. We have the stretches done. We have the reflections done on the unit circle. Let's talk about the translation. Translation for T, for translation. Translation can be horizontal, vertical, or both. A horizontal translation is the y in the center of h, comma, k. Sorry, the horizontal translation is the y. Now, how would I get a y out of that? Horizontal translation is the h in the center, h, comma, k. So if the center of a circle is 2, 3, then the h is 2. That means the horizontal stretch is 2, but it's plus. Notice it's plus. So we say horizontal stretch is 2, but where? So horizontal is 2 right. And this center is -4, 0. The h is -4. So the translation is 4 left. So you translate left or you translate right. If you go right is plus, if you go left is negative. The vertical translation is the k in the center, hk. So we have a circle, center is 2, 3. The k is 3. So the vertical translation is 3 up. Up is positive, down is negative. And we have a -4. Oh, sorry, my mistake. I was going to say -4. The k is 0. That's the h. And that means we have no translation, no vertical translation. So it doesn't move up or down. And we do another ordered pair here. Let's say we have a 5 and a -2. The k would be -2, so that would go 2 down. Again, the h and the k, h is the horizontal translation left and right, the k is the vertical translation up and down. Now we have a unit circle, and the unit circle is very quick. We just go to the ones like that. There's the unit circle. And notice, now if we take the unit circle and translate it one right, that means we take all the points. So the points that I move are these common points here, these 4 points here. That's the points at 0, 90, 180, and 270. So take these 4 points and move them. So if we take all these points and move them, well, let's take this one and move them one right. It goes right there. If we take this one and move it one right, it goes there at 1, 1, which is right there. We take this one and move it one right. That gives us 0, 0. We take this one and move it one right, we get 1, -1. So there it is. I moved the whole circle. So there it is, as you can see. So notice the center here is 0, 0. Now you notice the center is here, which is 1, 0. We moved all the ordered pairs one right in relation to the center. So h is 1 and k is 0. That means, in a mapping rule, we have x plus 1 and a y. Y did move, and the h moved one right, so x plus 1 means the x coordinates of the circle move 1 unit. Every x coordinate you add on 1. And the equation, as a result of that, is x, and that's a plus 1, but it's the opposite. and the radius is 1, so it's 1 squared is 1. So notice, that's the mapping rule of x plus 1, but when you put it in the equation, it's the opposite. Okay, let's continue. What about the unit circle is translated 2 units up? So if the unit circle, which is, let's pretend the unit, I'll just draw the unit circle with a broken line like this. Now let's take that unit circle right there and move it 2 units up. So let's take this point and move it 2 up. 1, 2. Let's take this point and move it 2 up. 1, 2. Take this point and move it 2 up. 1, 2. And take this point and move it 2 up. 1, 2. So now we have the unit circle, which is right here. So the center of the unit circle is 0, 0. Now the center, notice right here, so that center is 0, x is 0, y is 2. That's 0, 2. So h is 0, y is 2. So that's h. So that's the mapping rule is an x, and notice it's up, so it's y plus 2. So because it went 2 up, 2 is plus, so it's a y plus 2. So the equation, the x is squared, and the y on the equation is the opposite, is negative 2. And the rate is a unit circle, so it's 1 squared, which is 1. Let's continue. What about if we have a translation of 3 left and 1 down on the unit circle? So if you take a unit circle, and move it 3 left, so that's the center of the unit circle is right here. So let's go 3 left. 1, 2, 3. And we go 1 down. So there's the new center. Remember, so this is the center is 0, 0. So we move it 3 left, 1 down. So there's the new center. So this new center is negative 3, negative 1. So the center is negative 3, negative 1. But before I finish, the circle has a radius of 1. So the radius of 1 is 1 up, 1 down, 1 right, 1 left. So there's this unit circle translated right there. Okay, let's continue. H is negative 3 and K is negative 1. So when H is negative 3, that's horizontal, so that's 3 left. K is negative 1 is 1 down, and that's in the mapping rule, it's x minus 3 and y minus 1. The mapping rule is true to the center, translating from a unit circle 0, 0, whose center is 0, 0. The unit circle, there it is. And the equation is the opposite. So we got an x squared, so it's an x plus 3 squared from the mapping rule. If it's a y squared, now we got a y plus 1 squared. And the radius is 1, so it's just 1 squared. So again, the mapping rule tells me what's happening when it's transformed. So that minus 3 is 3 left, that minus 1 is 1 down, but the equation is the opposite to the mapping rule. Okay, let's work these out. We have an equation of a circle. This time we have a center. As you can see, we have a circle. We have the center is the opposite of the equation, so it's a 1, negative 4. The radius is not, r squared is 9, so the radius is 3, square root of 9 is 3. So the horizontal stretch and the vertical stretch is both the same 3. So the horizontal translation is the center, so that's 1. The vertical translation is a negative 4, because it's what the center is. So the mapping rule is x, comma, y, map to, and just take a little bit of space here to get this in. Okay, move it over a bit so you can see it. So we move it, and we have, there's the mapping rule, RH, r times x plus h, r times y plus k. So r is 3, x, and the h is 1, and the r is 3, for the y, and the vertical translation is -4. So there's the mapping rule. Okay, let's try another one. Keep practicing, everything is okay. So the center, this is a circle because you got x squared, you got y squared, and 25. Now you got x plus 3 squared and y minus 2 squared. So this is a circle. The center is the opposite, so it's a -3 and +2. The radius is r squared is 25, so r is 5. The horizontal stretch is 5. The translation is -3. And that's, when they say -3, we mean 3 left. And the horizontal translation is +2, so there's 2 up. And so the transformation or the mapping rule on that, here we go. We got a vertex, which is, sorry, not vertex. When I say vertex, we have a radius or a horizontal stretch. The vertical stretch is the same. I meant to say vertical stretch, horizontal stretch to the radius. So we got a 5 times x minus 3. And we have a 5 times y plus 2. Notice that -3 is, in the mapping rule, is that's the horizontal, so that's 3 left, plus 2 is 2 up, but these two numbers are opposite in the equation. +3, -3, -2, +2. But the mapping rule tells you what's true. The equation, you got to be careful. Plotting the center and the radius, the center tells you how it's moved. So -3 is 3 left, 2 is 2 up. And we have number 3 here. We have the center is 0, -6, and r squared is 4, and so that means r is 2. The vertical stretch, horizontal stretch is 2, and the horizontal translation, which is 0, so it's neither moved left or right. The -6 is 6 down, and so the mapping rule is we got a radius of 2, so it's a 2x plus a 0, and it's a 2y minus 6. And again, this is a 0 on the end, which is consistent with no bracket. We got a -6 here, so there's a +6 consistent with the bracket, and the radius is in front because on the units, on a stretch and a circle, the stretch, the horizontal stretch and the vertical stretch are the same too. Now we have this one right here, and we have a horizontal stretch and a vertical stretch of 6, so that means the radius is 6. So that means I can put r squared is 36 there. So if we have h is 4 and excuse me, 4 and -4, so that's 4 and -1, sorry. So h, 4, k, -1, which is the vertical translation, horizontal translation, and the equation of in the mapping rule. Let's see what we have. We got a radius of 6, so 6x, 6y, and the horizontal stretch is +4, and the horizontal translation is +4, the vertical translation is -1. That's okay, but the equation is the opposite of the +4, so it's an x minus 4. And that's a -1, so y is a +1. And we got the last part of this question here. Now I give you the mapping rule. So I got a 2 and a 2, so that means the radius is 2, the vertical stretch and vertical stretch and horizontal stretch is 2, so that means this is r squared, so that's a 4, and we got a +1, so the center is 1, and we got 0, nothing on the end here, so that means we have 1 and 0 here, because the center is the same as the center that I named these two numbers got to go for the horizontal translation, vertical translation. So the center, I have a 1. So that's an x minus 1 squared. And the y is 0. So we have just 0, 0 minus, or sorry, y minus 0 squared is the same as y squared. Again, think about it. It's very similar to when you're doing it, moving a line. When you transform a line, or you transform ordered pairs or parabola or anything. Now, the last page. Let's do a combination, going through it all again. And if you want to pause the video before I do it, go ahead. A unit circle is translated by each. So we got a unit circle, so the vertical stretch is 10, so that means the radius is 10. We got a horizontal translation of 6 right, so that's a plus 6. We got a vertical translation of 4 down, so it's a minus 4. So the mapping rule is x comma y. So we have the radius is 10, because the vertical stretch is the radius, which is the same as the horizontal stretch, so I got a 10x and a 10y. It's gone 6 right, so that's a plus 6. It's gone 4 down, which is minus 4. And again, the radius, as I said before, was 10. And the equation, let's do the brackets. We got an x, that's a 6 plus 6, so that's a minus 6 squared. And the y is a minus 4, so it's a plus 4. And I could name the center, because the center is this. You could say the center is 6, negative 4. So these are the opposites of these two numbers with a square. And the radius is 10, so 10 squared is 100. Okay, let's do another one. We got a horizontal stretch of 3, so that means I can go and say the radius is 3. What I didn't ask to find was to find the center. So let's see, find the center. That's the radius of 3, which is the same as the vertical stretch, so the radius is 3. The horizontal translation is 2 left, so that's a minus 2. So the center is, it moved left, so that's a minus 2, and it didn't move up or down. And the radius is 3. Okay, so the mapping rule is x comma y. And we have the radius is 3, so we got a 3x and a 3y. And that's a negative 2, so this is a negative 2. And we got a 0 here. So the equation is, we have a bracket. So the x is a minus 2, so that's a plus 2, so x plus 2 squared. The y got a 0 because it never moved up or down, so just y squared. And the radius is 3, so 3 squared makes 9. Just takes a while to get used to it. But you can make mistakes, and I make mistakes sometimes, so I just got to be careful. So what about if we just take a circle and do a vertical translation? There's no stretch, there's no reflect. No, again, remind, when you reflect the unit circle in the y-axis or x-axis, no change. So there's a vertical translation of 7 up, so that's a plus 7. So that means there's no vertical stretch, no horizontal stretch, so the radius is still 1. So the mapping rule is x comma y, and it's going to, and this is vertical, so there's no x. And again, let's do the center. So the center is 0 and a 7. So this is x, so the radius is 1, so 1 times x is just x, 1 times y, and then a plus 7, because the radius is 1. There's a 1 understood to be here. So the radius is 1, because there's no stretch. So the equation is x squared, y minus 7 squared equals 1 squared, which is 1. And we want to fill in this last question. It says state each. I give you a circle here, and you can see that the center of this circle is 1, -2. The radius is go right, 1, 2, 3. Or you can go left, 1, 2, 3. Or up, 1, 2, 3. So the radius of the circle is 3. That means, if you think about it, we have the circle as the equation is x minus 1 squared, y plus 2 squared equals r squared, 3 squared is 9. So that means h is 1, k is -2. So the mapping rule with a radius of 3 is 3x, got a 3y, and that's a 1, and that's a -2. Because remember, the mapping rule is true to the center. So if the center is 1, -2, this is +1, -2. And the horizontal stretches the radius, which is 3. The vertical stretches the radius is 3. And the horizontal translation is the center, which is horizontal translation is 1, so it's 1 right. Or some people might say it's +1, but it's better to say 1 right, because what does +1 mean? So 1 right. And the vertical translation is -2, so it's 2 down. So horizontal is left, right, vertical is up and down. So that goes through doing transformations on the unit circle. And I always, because you need to know how to do transforming a unit circle in order to do the next topic I'm going to do on the ellipse. So that brings us to the end. If you like my video, click the like button. If you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. As the content is on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.